Hello there. Welcome to the Sue Klaus Show. How are you doing? I usually try and keep the temporal references out of it anymore, but I have to tell you this because I complain so much about weather. Today, June 17th, 7 p.m.-ish. It is warm. There's a lovely breeze. It's not humid. It's positively gorgeous. Absolutely beautiful. There. Timestamp on this date and time. I said something good about the weather. And it's still doing that thing. Okay. So I thought I'd also talk to you a little bit about the problem of ranting. I rant. I know some of you rant. Sometimes it feels cathartic, good for the soul to get a good rant out. And sometimes it doesn't. These things happen. This road. God, this is one of the worst roads I travel. And it's so dumb that it's this bad, but okay. There's a mini rant right there. But I get concerned when I find myself doing nothing but the ranting. Because if you just complain all the time, which is what ranting is. Make it a little quieter. There. If you just complain all the time, you're kind of a crank. And I suppose I can accept to a point that, well, I'm a crank. Okay, I'm a crank. But I don't know, there's something so wrong with that. just complaining for the sake of complaining. I try not to do that. I complain as a means of getting information out that I have found that I feel you might want to know. But often it is very thinly veiled as a rant. But you don't want to be a crank either, because if you're a crank, no one listens to you. God knows there's plenty to complain about. There always has been, there always will be. But it seems like right now it's rather big. Note the temporal reference. 5 years from now, you'll have to Google what was happening. Anyway, I guess when I started my one site called The Chronic Malcontent, and it's in a different place now, but that was for ranting. That was for complaining. What I called constructive creative complaining. Now, constructive is often a value judgment, and one person's constructive sometimes ends up not being another person's constructive. I'm very well aware of that too. Very well aware. But I rant, therefore I am? No. I'm a chronic malcontent because I am awake? Could be. Because it's hell being awake. It's just no fun being awake, alert, and aware of what's going on in the world. Because some people don't pay attention. They don't watch the news, they don't read papers. And maybe they figure, well, there's nothing I can do about it. Anyway, all I can do is my thing. And to an extent, to a point, they're kind of right. You have to act within your own sphere. Not many of us can go and solve big problems all by our lonesomes, even though someone this week tried to, or last week tried to. Personally, it never occurred to me to go over and single-handedly rout out Bin Laden. That I had never entertained that possibility. So you see, it takes all of us on this earth to make it interesting. And therefore it is. Very interesting. Anyway, so there's a little mini rant about ranting and how I don't really want to be your neighborhood crank. That's why occasionally I do a non-rant. But today was a time to admit that I know that sometimes my level of ranting turns me into a crank, and I know that. But please, when you're assigning the label of crank, be gentle, because very often you're assigning the label of crank to someone who's also awake. And maybe you're not awake, and maybe you need to get awake. That's enough of that. Yeah, that's enough. That's probably too much. Okay, all right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.